Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Eugene F. Rivers III. Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Eugene F. Rivers III. Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Eugene F. Rivers III, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our most important speaker today. It's with great pride and joy that I introduce the Boston Police Commissioner, Commissioner William G. Gross, who I want to say today I applaud and thank for the courage that he has exhibited and stating unequivocally that we will defend the rule of law, which is a philosophic and moral requirement for civilization itself. So it's not an exaggeration to say that our commissioner, who is doing an excellent job, who's a member of the community and the hood, has stepped forward. And so, without further ado, I want to introduce to some, as we say in church, and to present to others the commissioner, who will give us a brief homily. Let the church say amen. Amen. Amen.
All right. Thank you, Reverend.
Yes, sir.
You see, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, several of these folks behind me and to the side of me helped raise me. I went to school down the street at the Oliver Wendell Homes and then to Boston Tech. I was raised in this community. I was raised in this community. I was raised in this community. I know this community and our communities are full of bright, brilliant, and smart people that know the importance of life, that are not desensitized to violence, and do care about children, adults, and seniors in the community. But I know this too. Some people don't care. They're committed to acts of violence. And like was alluded to earlier, unfortunately, those individuals have to be held accountable. They're affecting our quality of life, they're impacting life, and at times ending life. The Boston Police Department is committed to working in partnership, especially with the community, our clergy, our faith-based partners, our care service providers, into making sure that everybody is safe. But for those individuals who don't care, and we can't pretend like we don't know who they are, they have to be held accountable because they are jeopardizing the safety of the community. With that being said, when we send people to be rehabilitated, we must have programs and initiatives in place to make sure they are rehabilitated before they re-enter our neighborhoods so that they can come back as productive members of society. Does it work? Yes. Our street outreach unit, Operation Exit, where we introduced through Mayor Walsh people to union trade apprenticeships. There are a lot of brothers and sisters that have been incarcerated and come back and been very productive because they've been rehabilitated. That's what we need. We need to effectively work on socioeconomic issues, mental health, physical health, and for God's sakes, everything in this country began here. We have for years and centuries showed people how it's done. We can do that again. Let's not forget what we went through in the latter 80s and the 90s because of a crack epidemic. But now we're in a pandemic. We should be working together. And everybody should agree, including the judicial system, that those who are hell-bent on wreaking havoc and affecting quality of life has to be held accountable. COVID-19 is not a panacea for rehabilitation. That has to be done behind bars for some. But I'm telling you folks, my sister mentioned socioeconomics before and people that need services. We're here to educate you about all the services that we work on as the Boston Police Department, as well as in partnership with Mayor Walsh's cabinets, specifically the Boston Public Health Commission, Chief Morales, Chief Martinez, and Commissioner Morales, Boston Center for Youth and Family, and all of our churches of all faiths. So come on, Boston. We're definitely Boston strong. We don't need to let 5 or 10%, 5 or 10%, I say it's lower than that. 2% should not be the voices of our community. We should not be getting more letters about dirt bikes instead of more letters about a 10-year-old being shot in her house and a 16-year-old being killed in the streets of Boston. So let's hold everybody accountable, specifically the judicial system. It's your charge, your job to make sure that you are making decisions that keep us safe, and that individuals that aren't making the right decisions have to be held accountable. I applaud all of you here today. These folks here behind me do not hide behind the pulpit. And I'm not trying to call anyone out, but this is what we need to do. Get out. Talk to your constituency, your congregation, your people, your children, because this is Boston. It all began here, and we will remain strong. So stay safe, stay strong. God bless you.
All right. Excellent job.
Put your mask on.
Got it.
First, we want to applaud the superb and consistent leadership that has been exhibited by Governor Charles D. Baker and Boston Mayor Martin J. Walsh during this COVID-19 crisis. Their compassionate concern for the well-being and safety of all the citizens of the Commonwealth and the city is a model of exemplary political leadership. However, even with the excellent performance of the political class, there are challenges that confront the faith-based and community leadership who are uniquely qualified to engage these issues. If Black Lives Matter, Black leaders must have the courage to condemn in the strongest possible terms the violent criminals who terrorize some of the poorest neighborhoods in this city.
There you go.
We call upon these violent gangs. We're talking to y'all now. We're talking to the hoodoo, tough guys. You know, Pookie and cornbread. Look, we call upon you, who of course represent a tiny minority of our young people, to stop the violence, which only compounds the terrible situation which we find ourselves in with the coronavirus. It is simply unconscionable that in the midst of this suffering, you would afflict our communities with such blatant disregard for the well-being of mothers and children in these neighborhoods. There's no way that we can justify this. There's no way that we can rationalize it. And the deeper issue is that there ain't no way that y'all would be cutting up doing this mess that we're talking about Seaport. Y'all wouldn't go down there because, number one, those people wouldn't have it. You wouldn't be doing this in Beacon Hill. You wouldn't be doing it in Wellesley or Weston. Therefore, we insist today that you cannot do this stuff here. We are not going to tolerate this, and we're not going to rationalize the criminal behavior which would never be accepted anyplace else.
Amen to that.
An innocent 10-year-old girl suffered the unimaginable trauma of being shot in her own house. For law-abiding Black citizens to be subjected to the horrors of the virus and the violence at the same time is unspeakable cruelty. We fully support Police Commissioner William G. Gross and the Suffolk District Attorney Rachel Rollins in taking a firm line on this question. We call upon them to meet with the Youth Violence Reduction Task Force to develop stronger ties on the ground with the faith communities in preparation for what will be conceivably a difficult summer. Somebody say amen.
Amen.
The violent conduct of criminal gangs demands uncompromising measures. We call upon the Boston Police Department and, if necessary, their state and federal law enforcement partners to engage in aggressive, targeted suppression of these violent assaults upon the community. We're not having it. to the gang members, to the violent gang members, we love you. You're our children. We love you. But if you're going to be cutting up, wreaking havoc, we will come see you in jail. And the preachers will bring the Bibles, because what you need is a prison ministry. Somebody say amen again.
Amen.
This disregard for black lives should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Therefore, we call upon the justices at every level of the court system to stop recycling violent offenders who return to our neighborhoods simply to plague the defenseless poor.
I'm going to beat you to the amen.
Okay,
Amen.
all right, there you go. That's what I'm talking about, right? Anybody playing here? The violence is limited to a tiny minority of youth, but highlights the urgency of meeting the needs of the most disadvantaged among them. So, Governor Baker, we humbly beseech you to consider, one, visiting the neighborhood with the mayor and other representatives to get a clearer understanding of the depth of the difficulties that so many of these young people are experiencing. We recognize, Governor Baker and Mayor Walsh, that you have engaged the pandemic in a heroic fashion. And we call for the support of 6-day-a-week community-based programming to address the crying educational and developmental needs of poor black youth who have suffered the most academic harm from the lockdown. We know that there are countless numbers of young black people in our public educational system that are 2 years behind. As a result of this pandemic, they risk being 4 years behind, which means that in addition to the public school system, there must be community-based programs which will provide the support with 6-day-a-week programming that should go straight through the year. So we thank God for our commissioner, our mayor, and we just give God the glory. I want to thank all of those who've assembled here, and we look forward to working together because it's going to get warm. And I want to thank our co-chair, Sister Susan Young, over here. So God bless Susan Young, our co-chair of the task force. Let's put our hands together. Amen. Amen. And so now I'm going to ask, well, first I'm going to take questions. We'll do questions, 5 minutes questions, then I'm going to ask Father, the irrepressible Father Conway to give us the benediction. And he'll give us a brief benediction. Somebody say amen.
Amen.
Commissioner, what is it about the conditions of the coronavirus you believe that have impacted this community and caused this?
You're going to have to step up. I can't hear you.
What is it about the conditions of the coronavirus you believe that have disproportionately affected this community and have caused this uptick in violence? What do you attribute to that?
May I, Rev?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So this coronavirus, this pandemic, has definitely affected our neighborhoods. Economically so, people have lost jobs, people are worried about meals. You know, the Boston public school system, for some kids, that's their only meals. But we've kept the meals going through the commissioner and through Mayor Walsh. This pandemic has definitely affected the neighborhoods that were already suffering from socioeconomic strife, and the mayor working hard to make sure that we have equal health care and job opportunities across our great city. But what makes us take a step back is the pandemic and social distancing for all of our safety. In regards to violence in the community, what I alluded to earlier about service providers that we work in partnership with, we all practice in-person relationships and connections. So things like Youth Connect, where we have licensed clinical social workers in our stations to work with the families and the siblings, that's affected. Boston Center for Youth and Families. The kids can't go to the centers, Boys and Girls Club, right? Go why? But the thing is, we don't give up. We keep these relationships in place, we keep connected, and we still reach out to many families as we can. What we're very hopeful about and proud of is every year we have a summer safety initiative meeting. So that's Will Morales, Commissioner of Boston Center for Youth and Family. Boston Public Health Commission,
But when you-
Chief Martinez. This is what it does. It sends a message. We didn't forget about you. We're going to work with you. In anticipation in the city opening up in gradual stages, we're going to be here, whether it's through Zoom, conference calls, until it'll be a point where we can stand together. And we're going to combine the old with the new, back to the future, back to physical meetings, but combined with virtual reality.
Tara talked about digging deeper and that there
Yes.
are tangibles that the city and the state could do to be helping you. What are some of those tangibles? I mean, you've talked about all the programs that are in place now.
The
What's
community
more? How do you
folk-
dig deeper?
Let me pick up on this because that's a community question. You see, it's essential. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
It is essential that the city and the state begin to listen to the communities, because a lot of the solutions, see, black people are not just problems. We also can function as solutions. And so what needs to happen on the community side, we support 1,000% the commissioner and law enforcement to be hard and no joke. Now, what has to happen in addition to that is that these community-based grassroots groups that serve our people need to be more effectively empowered. Look, we're going to have this challenge this summer. Got it. Understood. The governor and the mayor need to, with other elected officials, sit down with the people that are in the trenches and hear their ideas, and also learn about what they have that's not working. And so it's more of a dialogue. It's listening in both directions. We follow the lead and the direction of our law enforcement. We don't second guess them, we trust them. When it comes to the community, we should listen to the communities because they play a major role. And I'll just, on this point, there needs to be a listening session to consider the pain of mothers who are stuck with raising their children by themselves. And on this point, one practical thing, we need to begin working with at-risk kids as early as 5, helping the mother and the child. See, the conventional youth development industry said start at 14. No, that was too late. Right now, given the severe needs and the severe poverty, we should be working with parents and mothers as early as 5. You want to do real crime prevention on the prevention side? Start with that child when they're 5. Start then.
Amen again.
And we want to encourage the law enforcement because, and we want this discussion, we are imploring the governor to come. We love him, we support him, and now we appeal to him to listen to those who support him.
Financial support for programs.
And financial support, that's my brain over here, Dr. Rivers. Financial support, I want to underline that, financial support for programs, right? Financial support for programs. Now, I want to wrap this up because I don't want to go over time. You got one more question?
I got one more question. Commissioner, how much, the early release of inmates, you were very angry about it on Monday. How much do you attribute that to this uptick in violence? And did you disagree with the decision to allow some of these inmates to be released early?
Absolutely disagree with the
And how much do
decision
you attribute that
to release violent people back in our community.
And do you think they are the ones contributing to this uptick in violence, or just part of the
Not
problem?
only are they probably contributing to it, but as you heard me state, what about the mentality? What if you're carrying a gun unlawfully and you see a Judge Roach, let a murderer go because he could potentially get sick?
Commissioner.
Because someone can be a potential victim of COVID-19 does not mean they can be rehabilitated. That's right, I'm passionate about it. That individual arrested for OUI, carrying a gun, firing a gun in our neighborhoods, and while on an electronic bracelet commits a murder, allegedly. What kind of message are you sending to the youth in our community that needs guidance?
Say it, Commissioner.
That
Say
it's
it.
okay.
Come on now, preach
What do
now.
you,
Now you
what do you
preaching.
think what do you think they're thinking in their heads?
Say it now.
I can do whatever I want. You
That's
just
right.
let a murderer go.
Say
I
it,
can do
say it.
whatever I want. A gang member
exactly
was
right.
released last Thursday or Friday. Same thing. Carrying a gun, firing a gun, armed home invasion. See you later. Back
Gotta
to
go.
the neighborhood.
Gotta
It's
go.
impacting us physically, mentally. You are re-traumatizing victims.
That's
You are
right.
not doing what you're paid to do,
That's
rehabilitate people.
That's
And
right.
again, COVID-19 is not the panacea
Right.
for COVID-19 is not the panacea
Right.
for COVID-19 is not the panacea
Right.
for rehabilitation.
Have you linked some of the recent crime to people having been just released from prison
We are
early?
comprising a report right now because we want to be fair. But you cannot dismiss the mentality
That's right.
that
That's absolutely
is
right.
being put out on these streets,
That's
that
right.
if murderers and
That's
gang
right.
members who
That's
have
right.
been arrested with guns,
That's
use
right.
guns,
That's exactly
murder,
right.
traumatizing
exactly
the
right.
neighborhoods, that they can be set free because, oh my God, they may get sick. There are medical facilities in the prison system. If we can create Operation Hope with 1,000 beds, you can do the same thing
That's right.
in houses of rehabilitation because the prisons are not full. We are 50th in the country. We are the
That's
last
real.
ones in the country for incarceration. So
All right.
that's
There you
how it
go.
impacts the
There
neighborhood.
you go.
Thank you.
Now,